All right, welcome. I was talking to some students about formatting and citations. So I thought I'd make a video here and kind of give some guidelines on this that you can reference, not just for my class, but any class in the future. All right, so I'm going to start with some basic tips on formatting, and then we'll move into some tips on citations and how you can best incorporate those into your writing. This is some stuff that I learned just kind of as like a crash course as I was growing up. I kind of navigated this and did it as best as I could with what I did know. And I've come to learn more and more about it as I've gotten older and more experienced with the software. So I want to kind of give you guys a basic understanding of some things that if you just make a habit whenever you start a new document, that it will help you in the long run because some of these things don't change. And then there's some variability with citations and how to incorporate those, but I'll address that probably in part two of this video. So the first thing that I want to show you, I've got a brand new blank document opened here on Microsoft Word. All right. And this basically applies if you're using Google Docs or something else as well. But I'm going to use Word just for the sake of, universality there. Most places you're going to go are going to end up using Microsoft. So anyway, in the English classes, in the world of academia and English and humanities, typically you're going to be using MLA citations. Okay. So when in doubt, Google MLA citation and go to, there's a couple great websites you can find. You can go straight to the MLA or Purdue University has a great website to help give you examples and other things on how to do this too. It's called the OWL, the Online Writing Lab. So that's another great place to check it out. But let me just show you a few things that never really change that if you get in the habit now will help you in the long run. So first and foremost, I use a lot of shortcut keys, so I'm going to teach you those as I'm going through this. We got our blank document. Word does whatever it wants for its default formatting, but standard formatting for English papers is always double spaced, Times New Roman font, and size 12. All right, so to apply that right off the bat with a blank document, what I'll do is I'll hit Control A, that is select all. There's nothing on the document to select right now, but yet it selects what's there. Okay. And then I will hit Control 2. That applies double spacing to the entire document, and that'll stay as long as you're writing it. Then I'll go up to the choices here, and I'll select Times New Roman, and it's already on size 12, so I'll leave that there too. But now, one thing that Word does that's stupid that I always want to adjust is it adds spacing after lines. So I think we're under layout. You can see right here where it says it tells you how far an indent's going to be or how much spacing is before or after whenever you hit enter, basically. So you see the little pop-up window. It says change how much space appears below the selected paragraphs or how much appears above a selected paragraph. And it always gives this 0.8, right? 8-point spacing after a paragraph. You want to set that to 0. Okay. Stop that crap. Empty space on a page is dumb. All right. For an essay, if you're writing something where information needs to be much more visibly ordered, then that might apply. But typically for essay writing, you don't want this. So just set that to 0. And now you've got the basic formatting established for your paper. Okay. So that's right off the bat. Next, you're going to do some writing. So what I have is some, it's called dummy text or filler text. So it doesn't really mean anything. But in the past, this kind of, oh, hold on. This kind of dummy text was used as like a placeholder to gauge how many words might fit somewhere. So it's a lot of nonsense, but that's okay. It's going to give you the visual that we want. Now look at when I pasted that, it put all these extra um, spaces between these paragraphs. We don't want those. All right, so one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to undo that with Control Z, and then I'm going to right click and hit paste, keep text only. All right, that's what I want. All right, now it still did that, but I don't want it bringing the format from wherever I copied that over, so that's why I said to keep the text only. All right, so you got some words here, and we're going to make it work. So there's an extra space between the paragraphs. We definitely don't want that. All right, so we're going to remove those, and it should look more like this. And you can see that there's space between these paragraphs that doesn't belong. All right, lots of spelling mistakes, but obviously that's because it's dummy text. It doesn't mean anything. Now, the next thing, you need to indent each paragraph. Don't hit space a bunch of times. Hit tab one time. See that? At the beginning of each paragraph, we're going to hit tab, and it's going to move everything to a consistent distance from that margin. All right, as I do that, coming down, we have consistency now. I missed one. Here's one more paragraph right there. All right, now it's starting to look more and more like an essay, like a properly formatted essay. A lot of people will instead hit space like 5 or 6 times or something. The problem with that is even though you can't see anything, by hitting the space bar, you're still putting information on that page. Here is a pro tip for you to understand how that works with your formatting. On this home tab here, you'll see a little icon that shows you the paragraph symbol. Okay. So if you click that, that will either show or hide paragraph marks and other hidden formatting symbols. All right. So if you turn that on, you'll notice that some new characters appear on the screen. The first one I want to point out here is at the end of each paragraph, you see that paragraph symbol. Every time you hit enter or return, whatever, it adds that information to the document. Okay. So even though that won't be printed, you can turn it off and it disappears. See, that's still there on the page. All right. It's invisible to a printer, but you can actually see what's happening format wise if you turn that on. And that will help you see where there's stuff that's screwing up your formatting. All right. So let's get rid of those. All right. And the other thing, if you look close, in between each line, I'm sorry, not line, in between each word, there's a small dot. You see that? So every time you hit the space bar, there's information going onto that page. See what I mean? All right. And that'll screw up your formatting if you are editing or inserting new pasted material, or if you have a new paragraph to write, and you want to insert a new paragraph or something. Um, Basically, you have to understand you're putting information on that page, even if it's invisible. All right. So that's what's happening and why you don't want to do that space, 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 space in order to indent. Instead, we have the tabs, and the tabs are consistent indents. They're not even visible. You can see that, right? But that's because by the design, when you hit that tab, it automatically lines it up perfectly. If you hit space a bunch of times and it's inconsistent, you end up with a kind of wonky, amateur looking, final document. So you want to avoid that too. All right. And then the next thing I want to teach you is if you need to go to another page, there's a command for that. All right. A shortcut key that I use that is the most useful. Here's what people usually do. Let's say this is your essay and you need a works cited page. The works cited page in MLA format is always the last page of the document. Some people will come to their last paragraph and say, okay, I've got to get to the last blank page, so I'll do this. And they hit enter a ton of times until they're on that last page. Bad. Don't do it. All right. The reason is because if I come back here and I edit something, if I insert some more sentences somewhere or elaborate, or if I remove something, or if I paste some new quotes in here or some other information, it's going to move everything. So let's just, for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to copy a whole paragraph, right? And let's say I want to enter a whole new paragraph here. As soon as I do that, this formatting is still good, but it pushes all of that down onto that last page. It's a headache then to try to fix. I'm going to show you a better way to do it. So let me undo everything I just did. Control Z is undo. Now, if I want to go to that last page, instead of hitting enter a bunch of times, you can hit Control Enter, and that inserts what's called a page break. Now, this page will always be separate. It will stay the last page as long as you don't put anything exceeding this final page, spilling onto another one. This will stay the last page of your document. And this page here will always follow this page break. Okay. So now, if I do have another paragraph, let's say for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to insert another paragraph here. All right. Word will learn, it'll think for you and tab automatically once you establish that pattern. All right. But if I paste another paragraph, notice it moves, the page breakdown because that's holding that place on the document, that information. All right. I have this extra enter here, this return, this paragraph. So I'm going to delete that anyway. But now you see that final page is still right where it is and right where it needs to be because you have your page break. Okay. So that's some basic formatting things that you need to know. I think that will make your life a lot easier as you type. Okay. A couple other things now. In MLA formatting, typically you need a title for your page. All right, for your document, whatever that is. You don't want to title your essay or whatever you're writing. You don't want to title it essay, right? Or constructed response or anything. You don't want to call it that. You want a creative title. That's what the MLA recommends. And that is always centered. So if you're here under this home tab, there's the justification shortcuts right here. You can hit center and you can put a creative title of your page here, of your document. You don't want to make that all caps or anything either. But since it's a title, you would capitalize the first letter of each word. All right. So maybe I'm writing about Sir Francis Drake, right? Um, Something like that would be a fine title. The Voyages of Sir Francis Drake for like a historical essay on this figure. All right. So now you've got your title. You've got your paragraph text all neatly formatted, and then you've got your page break ready to go that takes you to what will become our works cited page. Okay. So now look how nice and clean this looks. This is professional. And believe it or not, this says a lot about you and your quality as a student, right? Or as a somebody who's worth taking seriously. If you pay attention and do these standard things, it gives you more credibility. But if I open a document and I see all sorts of wacky indentations and, you know, empty space on the page, immediately I know that you didn't pay that much attention to it, right? If it's something that I should be paying attention to as your audience, then it's something that you as the author need to pay close attention to as well. All right. So that's some of the basics of formatting. The MLA also recommends a certain type of heading that you would put on the page. And this is something that you ask your teacher if they want it or not. Because in the world of online school, when you submit something, it's already connected to your name and account and it has the date already preserved. But if you're printing a paper, you would include a heading. So I can show you what that would look like. That would be left justified still. The spacing is still the same. And basically you would put your own name. So if it were me, I'd put that. And then you would put your teacher's name, whatever that is. Let's just say I'll use my own name again anyway. We'll make it a little more formal now, right? Then you would put the name of the course that you're enrolled in, whatever that is, no matter what subject area, right? And then you'd put the date, all right? And you'd put the date that finish the work. If you finish it early, you can put that early, that's fine, or you can put the due date. I'm just going to use today's date for that. All right. So that's the basic MLA heading. All right. Now, as I typed that, I realized that there's a mistake here. And you can tell that the heading is aligned with the indentation of the paragraphs. So we need to actually adjust that. We're going to drag that all the way back to the left. That's where that should be. So this is your basic formatting for an MLA paper. Your name, your teacher's name, the course title, the date, then the title of your essay or report, and then the text. You get right into it. Okay. And that brings us to our works cited page. All right. Now, citations require two parts. Okay. You need what's called an in-text citation, and you need a works cited entry. All right. To format your works cited page is a little bit tricky. All right. So I'm going to show you what I do. I'm sure that there's a better way to do it, but what I do and has always worked for me is what I'm going to show you right now. So your works cited page is always the last page of your document. I screwed up because I hit center and my cursor was still up here. Let me undo that. Bring my cursor down to this last page. Okay. The title works cited is going to be centered on that last page. Exactly like I just typed it. No underlines, not all capitalized, nothing like that. Just type it, capital W, capital C, works cited. All right. Then you hit enter and then you realign it to the left and you're ready to start putting in your works cited entries. Okay. Now, this is where things get a little bit tedious. So I'm going to pause here on this video and I'm going to start another video that kind of explains how we format our works cited entries and how we then incorporate in-text citations. We'll see you in the next video.